My name is Benedict Hartwell. I'm 72 years old, and I just discovered that I've been living the last 15 years in a lie that my own son created. You know that feeling when you wake up in the morning, and for a few seconds you forget about your problems? I can't even remember what that feels like anymore. It's been so long since I woke up knowing exactly where I am, alone in a house that used to ring with a child's laughter. 15 years ago, my world turned upside down. My daughter-in-law, Claire, my son Ryan's first wife, died in a car accident, and I thought she had taken my little grandson, Gabriel, with her. He was only 8 years old at the time. 8 years old. Can you imagine? A child who had barely started to live. Ryan was destroyed. So was I. But the difference is that he managed to move on. He remarried Sylvia, got a good job at the bank, built a new life. Me? I stayed stuck in that day. You who are listening to me now, tell me something. How does someone get over the death of a child? How do you stop hearing their laughter echoing through the house? If this story is touching your heart, leave a like so it can reach more people who need to hear it. The carpentry workshop became my refuge. I spent all day there making anything that would keep my hands busy. The smell of wood glue somehow calmed the pain. Ryan always complained, "Dad, you're isolating yourself too much in that workshop." But he didn't understand. Working with wood was my way of feeling close to Gabriel. Every piece I made felt like it was for him. But last week, everything changed. Ryan showed up at my house. That's rare, mind you. He's always running around with his own life. He came talking about how I needed to sell the workshop. "Dad, you don't even use that place anymore. It's just becoming storage." "It's not storage, son. Those are my tools. Tools you haven't touched in months. Just let it go." We argued. We had a real fight. He said I was living in the past, that I needed to accept reality. I told him that workshop was all I had left of Gabriel, of the good memories we shared. "Gabriel is dead, Dad. It's been 15 years. Maybe for you he's dead, not for me." That's when it happened. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. My vision got blurry. Ryan rushed me to the hospital. The doctors talked about high blood pressure, mild stroke, those things that come with age. When I woke up in the early morning, still feeling dizzy, I heard the doctor talking to the nurse outside. This type of stroke can leave the patient confused for a few days. Sometimes they stay quiet, don't respond much. That's when I got an idea that to this day I don't know if it was smart or just plain crazy. I decided to pretend I was in a coma. Don't ask me what went through my head. Maybe curiosity to see how my son would react. Maybe just exhaustion from pretending everything was okay between us. I closed my eyes and stayed silent. Ryan arrived about 3 hours later. I recognized his footsteps in the hallway, always hurried. He sat in the chair next to my bed, didn't even hold my hand, just kept messing with his phone. After a few minutes, he answered a call. "Hi, Sylvia." "No, he hasn't woken up yet. Doctor said it could take a few days." I know. At least now we can handle that workshop situation without him giving us grief." My heart raced. What situation? "I already talked to the realtor yesterday. He said he can get us $40,000 for the lot. It's not much, but it'll cover our new car." 40,000. That workshop with the land was worth twice that much. Ryan was trying to screw me over. But that wasn't what hurt me the most. It was the way he talked about me, like I was just a problem in his life. Over the next few days, I kept pretending. Ryan showed up occasionally, always on his phone talking about work. The nurse, a kind woman named Carmen, would comment, "Poor thing, his son barely talks to him, doesn't even hold his hand." On the third day, Ryan arrived different, nervous, restless. He sat in the chair and stayed silent for a long time. Then he started talking quietly. "Dad, I know you can't hear me, but I need to say something." I held my breath. "Remember when Gabriel died? You blamed me, said I didn't take proper care of him, that I was a bad father. Did I really say that? In the pain of that moment, maybe I did. Maybe you were right. Gabriel was so attached to you. He always wanted to stay in the workshop. When I'd call him to leave, he would cry. That was true. The boy loved playing with my tools. I was jealous, Dad. Jealous of my own son. He loved you more than me. Ryan's voice began to shake. When Claire died, I was lost. I didn't know how to take care of a child by myself. Gabriel cried every night, asking when he would see Grandpa again. Where was he going with this? So I made a decision that haunts me every single day. My breathing almost stopped. I put Gabriel in foster care in Riverside, far from here, and I told everyone he had died along with his mother. No, it couldn't be true. Gabriel didn't die, Dad. He grew up in that facility. Today he's 23 years old. I felt like the world had collapsed on top of me. He's been looking for me since he turned 18, wants to know about you, but I won't let him get close. I can't. Tears started streaming down my face, though my eyes stayed closed. Last week, he went to Mrs. Henderson's house. She was going to tell him where you lived. I had to lie and say you had dementia. Mrs. Henderson, my neighbor of 30 years. She had mentioned a nice young man asking about you. Ryan told me it was some scammer trying to con elderly people. He works at a woodworking shop, Dad. He became a carpenter just like you. And he has a daughter, a little 4-year-old girl named Alice. My heart felt like it might explode. I was a great-grandfather and didn't even know it. But I can't let him show up, not now. If he tells everyone I lied, if they find out I abandoned my own son. Ryan started crying softly. I've ruined everything. His life, yours, mine. But I don't know how to fix this mess anymore. He stayed there crying for several minutes. Then he got up and left. I lay in that bed, pretending to be unconscious. But inside, I was a hurricane. My grandson was alive. My grandson was alive and had been looking for me for 5 years. For 15 years I lived in mourning. 15 years crying for a child who was growing up alone, thinking his grandfather didn't care about him. Have you ever felt pain like this? Pain that feels like it's tearing your heart right out of your chest? The next day, Ryan brought Sylvia. She spoke in hushed tones. Ryan, we can't keep hiding this. That boy called again yesterday. He's getting suspicious. You didn't tell him anything, did you? Of course not, but he said he hired a private investigator, that he's going to find out where his father is. Then we'll have to move my dad to a long-term care facility, somewhere farther away. That won't solve this forever. Yes, it will. He won't be around much longer anyway. Then the problem disappears. Hearing that felt like a knife to the chest. My own son waiting for me to die to solve the problem. That afternoon, after Ryan left to make arrangements, I heard a different conversation in the hallway. A young voice spoke with Nurse Carmen. Ma'am, please, my grandfather is a patient here. Benedict Hartwell. I'm Gabriel, his grandson. My heart nearly stopped. Son, I can't give out patient information. I brought my daughter to meet her great-grandfather. Her name is Alice. Could we just see him for a few minutes? A tiny voice asked, Daddy, is Grandpa in there? I froze in that bed. My great-granddaughter was there, just on the other side of the door. Not today, sweetheart, but we'll come back tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to draw him a picture. When their footsteps faded away, I made the hardest decision of my life. I slowly opened my eyes and whispered, Nurse Carmen. She nearly jumped out of her skin. Mr. Hartwell, you're awake, thank God. I need to call the doctor. Wait, please. First I need to know, that young man who was here, Gabriel, is he still in the hospital? Sir, you heard that conversation? I did. He's my grandson who I thought had died. Nurse Carmen looked at me with an expression I'll never forget, a mixture of shock and deep sympathy. He left just a few minutes ago, but he said he'd be back tomorrow morning. Then I'll stay awake and wait. Sir, but your son... My son has been lying to me for 15 years. Now it's my turn to make the decisions. I spent the entire night wide awake, thinking about what I would say to Gabriel. How could I explain that I didn't know he was alive? How could I ask forgiveness for 15 years of absence? The next morning, Gabriel arrived early. He brought a little girl with curly hair and the biggest eyes I'd ever seen. When they walked into the room, it was like time had rolled back 15 years. Gabriel looked exactly like his father at that age. But in his eyes, I saw something I'd never seen in Ryan's, genuine kindness. Grandpa, he said, barely believing it. My boy. That was all I could manage. He approached the bed slowly, as if he was afraid I might disappear again. The little girl hid behind his leg. Grandpa, I've been looking for you my whole life. My father always told me you didn't want to see me. That's a lie, Gabriel. A complete lie. I thought you had died with your mother. Died? But I'm right here. Sit down, son. I'm going to tell you everything that happened. I told him the whole truth. Gabriel sat quietly, holding his daughter's tiny hand. When I finished, his eyes were filled with tears. Grandpa, I always knew something was wrong with that story. But I was just a kid. I didn't understand. And now, can you forgive me for not coming to find you? Forgive you. Grandpa, you were lied to just like I was. None of this is your fault. Alice, who had been quiet the whole time, stepped closer to the bed. Grandpa, Daddy says you make little houses out of wood. I do, Princess. Would you like me to make one for you? Yes, a house for my dolly. Then we'll make the most beautiful dollhouse in the world. 2 hours later, Ryan arrived at the hospital. He'd come to take me for the transfer. Instead, he found us talking in the family lounge, me, Gabriel, and Alice. The look on his face when he saw me awake was pure terror. Dad, how? I heard everything, Ryan. Every single word you said. He looked at Gabriel, then at me, then at Alice. His face went white as a sheet. Dad, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I understand perfectly. Gabriel stood up and pulled his daughter close. Ryan tried to speak. Gabriel, Don't. Gabriel's voice was calm but firm. I don't want to hear it. Ryan looked at me, desperate. Dad, I was scared. Scared to admit I didn't know how to be a father. Scared to admit I had failed. And you thought lying for 15 years would fix that? I didn't know how to make it right. You could have started with the truth. Alice tugged on my hospital gown. Grandpa, why's that man crying? Sometimes grown-ups cry when they've done something wrong, sweetheart. Ryan stepped closer. Dad, please give me a chance. Let me try to fix this. I'm not the one you need to make things right with. Ryan turned to Gabriel. Gabriel looked at his daughter, then at me. Alice, why don't you go color at that table over there? Okay, Daddy. When the little girl was out of earshot, Gabriel faced his father for the first time in 15 years. You know what hurt the most? It wasn't growing up in foster care, it wasn't living without parents, it was believing my grandfather didn't love me. Gabriel, You stole 15 years of my life. 15 years of his life. 15 years my daughter could have had with her great-grandfather. I know there's no forgiving this. You're right, there isn't. Ryan collapsed into a chair and sobbed like a child. But, Gabriel continued, because of Alice, I won't teach her to hate. She's not responsible for your mistakes. What are you saying? You can know your granddaughter. You can be part of her life if you want. But you and we're done. Ryan nodded, unable to speak. And Grandpa, Gabriel turned to me. Would you like to come live with me? I have a small house, but there's a backyard. We could build a workshop out there. Are you sure about this? I'm sure. Alice needs to know her great-grandfather. And I need to make up for lost time. That's how at 72 years old I found my family again. Or rather, I got back the family that had always been mine. Today, several months later, I live in a cozy little house in Riverside. Gabriel works at a woodworking shop nearby. Alice goes to school in the morning and spends her afternoons with me in the workshop we built together. I'm teaching her to make dollhouses. Her fingers are tiny, but she can already sand wood smooth. She always asks, Grandpa, when I grow up, will I be able to make furniture like you? You'll be able to make anything you want, Princess. Ryan visits Alice every Sunday. He and I still can't really talk. Maybe someday we will. Maybe we won't. But I've learned that forgiveness isn't something you owe someone. It's something you choose. Gabriel asked me if I was angry with him for taking so long to find me. Son, you've been looking for me since you were old enough to. I'm the one who should have been looking. But you didn't know. I should have suspected something. I should have dug deeper. Grandpa, we can't live in the should-haves. We can only live in what we have right now. Gabriel is right. He's always been wiser than his father. Yesterday, Alice asked me, "Grandpa, why couldn't I meet you before now?" "Because sometimes adults make big mistakes, sweetheart." "But you won't make mistakes anymore, right?" "I'll try my best not to." "That's okay. If you do, I'll forgive you anyway." She's 4 years old, and she already understands forgiveness better than most adults. Listen to me carefully. How many times do we let pride, fear, or hurt steal away life's precious moments? I could have died without ever meeting my great-granddaughter. I could have died believing my grandson hated me. I could have died alone, drowning in my own sorrow. But life gave me a second chance. Actually, it gave me many chances. I just wasn't paying attention. Now every morning Alice comes running into my room. "Grandpa, wake up, let's build something." And I get up. I get up with a smile. I get up grateful. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. Family is about choosing to care. It's about showing up. And I've also learned that it's never too late to start over. Now I ask you, is there someone you need to reconnect with? Someone you lost along the way? Sometimes that person is closer than you think. Sometimes they're just waiting for you to wake up from life's coma. The time that's past is gone, but the time ahead, that's still ours to claim.